Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to the Your Worthy Network. Hope you're having a tremendous, blessed, productive, encouraging week so far. It's hard to believe for me that we're over halfway through the month. Not just the month, we're over halfway through the month, the last month of the first quarter. How's that strike you? What did just the other day, depending on your convictions, I guess, you were writing down those New Year's resolutions. You were writing down that theme word for the year, for those of you that have it. And I am surprised because I always gauge some of this by my gym membership. What do I mean by that? Usually you see an influx of new members January the 2nd. And for those of us that go regularly, they're gone by Valentine's Day, to be honest with you. And I noticed the other day I was leaving the gym, and I'm there at a time of day where, it's not that busy, mid-morning, 9:30, 10 o'clock when I go in. And it was packed. I'm like, somebody's either doing really good marketing or people are sticking with their resolutions longer. Anyway, why am I off on that soapbox? I have no idea. But I'm glad to be with you. I'm excited to introduce you to our guest today. I think you're going to love her. She's the real deal. She's authentic. She's wise. She's warm and more. And you're going to catch that as we go along. Let me tell you a little bit about her through her bio. Janet Krebs is a speaker, family strategist, and four times best-selling author who empowers families as influencers to lead with confidence, self-reliance, and heart. Drawing from her background in consulting, HR, and education, as well as 14 years as Commander Krebs in a space flight simulator guiding over 65,000 students. She blends practical leadership tools with real world parenting strategies. Her greatest accomplishment are two adult children, Benjamin and Alicia. Wow, I love that. Janet, welcome to the You Are Worthy Network.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
That's awesome. There's so much I could ask just about the flight simulator and the yeah, we'll get there. I got to ease into it. I can't jump right in. Um, I tell people all the time, Janet, one of the tremendous blessings of hosting a group this size is people are now watching from different countries and different continents. So I never want people to assume it's only US based, but you are in the US. Tell us where you're from.
I'm actually in the suburbs of Indianapolis, a great little city.
Yeah, and that is still the US. There's some places in the US where like, is that still the States? But no, Indiana is definitely the Midwest and at the heart of the country for sure. Is that
Yes.
is the I almost said Illinois because that's where I'm from. Is central Indiana been home most of your life?
That's a great question. I was thinking, I was listening to you, bless the audience, and then you went on to talk about the gym, and then reading my bio, and I'm thinking, this is what happens. Like it sounded like I've been around for a while because I have. Like I'm 62. I'll be 63 this year. However, the funny thing about the answer to your question, this is the longest I've ever lived anywhere. So when asked, just in case that was coming up, I'll just blurt it out. I My childhood was on the East Coast, but I had my 19th birthday on the West Coast. And then I moved here in the middle in 1997. So that dates me. So I've been here since 97. So I'm almost here 30 years. I've never lived anywhere 30 years ever. And if you had asked me at any point of my life. If I was going to end up in Indiana for almost 30 years, I would have been like, I was going to say something terrible. I'd be like, no. I didn't even know where Indiana was. Like, no.
I think it's safe to say, gosh, yeah, now, yeah, close to 30 years. I think you're grandfathered in now.
Knew that I was going to be here.
I think you're grandfathered in now, close to 30
Oh,
years.
I'm grandfathered.
Gra-
I thought you said your grandfather knew. I was like, what?
No.
I thought we were talking about other things, not that. No.
The
Yeah,
joys of going live.
yeah, but does that mean I'm a Hoosier? Because like we can't even agree on what Hoosier mean. Like, no. Actually, the people that are native to Indiana, they know that I'm not from here originally.
Yeah.
But I have gotten nicer since I've lived here, and that's what Hoosier hospitality is all about. So that's a very good thing.
It rubbed off on you. That's a good thing. I love it. So, tell us who you do life with. Tell us about your family.
Well, you heard my two blessings, my two biggest blessings. Those are my flown and grown kids, Ben and Elisa, and they're just adult living life, loving life. And I live here in Indiana with my husband and my ancient old cat, Bella.
How old is the cat?
I have no idea. She was an adopted cat. She was a rescue. They didn't have any idea, but I've had her for at least 13, 14 years.
Oh,
So
wow.
she's living her best life. Whatever she wants, she gets. She has earned the privilege of living her best life.
Yeah. Are the kids, even though they're grown, how are they close by?
No, they're actually in Texas. And Texas is so big that everyone's like, oh, you're so lucky you can. No, they're like 5 hours apart. So it's
Mm,
either one or the other unless they decide that they're all coming together. But the cool thing is that we we are blessing. I think I just caught myself off guard. Uh, we're a very close family. And my blessing is that my kids actually love to vacation with us. And like we don't even have to pay for it anymore because they're all on their own, right? And we do. As a matter of fact, we have a trip scheduled, and the six of us, everybody with their respective spouses, are gonna be traveling again. We do it at least once a year. Isn't that amazing? Like
that's
30 this
awesome.
year, 30, 34 respective spouses, and then my husband and I in our 60s, and they like it.
That's amazing.
It is. It really is.
Now, I did catch something in there. So we don't even have to pay for it, meaning they're paying their part, right?
Yeah, and like we don't.
But
Yeah, yeah, like we're talking like resort, all inclusive, not the Holiday Inn, and I don't say that for any other reason other than like it's a sizable investment for the whole, and then just to take the time off from their
oh,
professions. We've got one of my son-in-law, he gets 2 weeks a year, and he's spending one of them with us.
that says a lot.
It says a lot.
That says a lot. Now they'll pay for yours in a couple years, maybe.
I hope they don't have to, but honestly, you know what, Steve? They would.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
They totally would.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's awesome. That says a lot about you and your husband, how you raised them for sure. All right, let's get in the time machine. I want to take you back to your senior year in high school. Graduation is upon you. Cap and gown is in your bedroom. The date is on the calendar. Terrified of what happens after that day? Gonna miss everybody? No plan at all? Or can't wait to get out of there? Know exactly where you're working that summer. Maybe you're already holding that job as we speak at 18 years old, and you know exactly what you're doing for your higher education. You've got it all mapped out somewhere in between. What's the mindset of senior Janet?
First of all, you gotta go because you're going back a long way. And I was 17 when I graduated because in Pennsylvania we got to go to school earlier than other parts in the country. Uh, it's a it's a great question, and actually I had a lot of fun thinking because you told me that you were going to ask me something about that. Totally different experience from what most kids get to experience. And this is not a sob story, but my father had cancer, was riddled with cancer. And
Mm.
by that, my senior year, my goal, like I knew where I was going to university. I made the decision of where I was going to university because he was still alive and I was living with him. And my parents had been divorced for a good many years. And I just wanted him to be alive for me to see me graduate. And he wanted to stay alive to see me graduate. So it was a little different of a goal. That was mindset.
And I'm assuming that the goal was met.
It was met. And yeah, it was met.
Yes,
He didn't live much beyond that. But he did make it.
that's
It's
special.
funny how benchmarks like that, like I didn't even like, okay, so you graduate from high school, and yeah, it's kind of a big deal, but like you alluded to it, like, do you have big plans and like you just have to cross the finish line and graduate so that you can go live your life because when you're 17 or 18, it's like, get me out of here. I finally have a driver's license. I'm free. Let's get on with this. I'm a grown up, right? Yeah, and
Yep.
I think that and and then just time just got really quiet and like let's just make this one benchmark at a time. So it was just very interesting and blessed beyond measure. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so glad you got to see that. I'm so glad y'all got to share that together. Especially looking back now. That's awesome. So I know you spent many years in education. Was that the initial goal? Is that what you went to? Okay. So tell us about what you went to school for and what you did early on as a profession.
Well, so I went to school in where I grew up in Pennsylvania and transferred out to California because I was young. Remember, I said I had my 19th birthday out in California. So I transferred universities after my dad died. And I moved to California with my then high school sweetheart, Stephen, now my husband. And I was going to school well, actually, funny story, real quick. Day one of university in California, because year one is all the idiot stuff you have to get out of the way. California was, I'm like deciding I'm going to be a counselor because like this was like a big dream. I was going to be a school counselor, whatever. I am in day one of university for MFCC counseling. And the professor says 90% of you are in this room because you need counseling. And I looked around the room and he was right. And I never went back to that class. Because they all looked just like a little off. And I was like, do I look that off? I didn't think. Anyway, young kid, whatever. So I was on the HR human resources route. I thought human factors was fascinating. it was still working with people, maximizing or optimizing their experiences in the world of work. And I got to do lots of cool things. And I actually worked in HR for about 10 years. Part of my job, in case this is the next question, because like, then how'd you get into teaching? Part of my job was to do education for underemployed or underemployed people in our community in California. And I very quickly noticed a pattern of observation. Those that were unemployed or underemployed were undereducated, and their communication skills were abominable. And I got to the point where I was teaching them how to handshake when they were meeting, potential boss for a job, or eye contact, or losing the ums and all of the filler words, and how to succinctly answer a question. And then I thought, at what age do we lose the ability to communicate? How young do I have to go? These people are adults, but now they're struggling with the world because they already have bad patterns of communication. So I was like on a mission to become like an expert communicator. And then I sat in a classroom with a friend of mine. She was a teacher, and I was like, well, maybe like, how young do you have to go? And then I just shadowed her for a while. I also had a boss that I didn't love, and he was making being a mom difficult. And so I said, well, I can do that. I'll be a teacher and I can impact education and communication at a younger level so that adults don't have to struggle. So I guess, that's interesting because now with what I do, it's all about parents not struggling. Oh my gosh, thank you, Steve. I just made that connection. That's great.
So all right. So you were a teacher for how many years and what grade?
20, and I had taught everything from Montessori, which I loved, by the way, Montessori through adults.
Okay. Okay. Did you ever get into principal, superintendent type roles?
Great question, because that's the normal path of educators who flunk themselves out today. No, I wanted to impact lives. I wanted to educate people. And I retired myself because I didn't want to just deliver curriculum. And we all know that there was a moment in time where curriculum became very standards based, 10:02, time to, you know, close that book and pick up another book. And that just wasn't me. And so to administrate that would have been like I would have rather put a needle in my eye.
Mm, mm. So this was about when you made your exit.
I retired myself about 10 years ago.
Okay. Okay. And were you just that frustrated with the system at that point, or did you already have a plan in place to jump to?
Well, the simulator that mentioned,
Hmm?
those are simulators that are across the country. That was with the Challenger Learning Centers, which was a space flight is, because there's still some of them in the country, space flight simulator anchored in life skills and STEM education. And so that's where I was blessed to have spent 14 of my 20 years, which is why I was in the game for as long as I could be, because I got to facilitate a simulation, AKA curriculum. I didn't have to teach it. The simulator taught itself. So I got to facilitate humans through the process. And so that's why, like 14 years doing the same job, that's not really me because I get bored easily, but it was fun. It was just fabulous because every day there was just a new group of people that came through the simulation. Youngest was fifth grade. So I have a warm spot for middle school kids, which most people would be like, oh my God, they're like one-eyed aliens. And they are, but I loved them because they were so excited to do a curriculum that was different. And I empowered them to succeed and to let them know that failure was an option in the simulator. And so they all rose to the occasion.
Wow. Yeah, it does sound fascinating. Sounds like the simulator may have kept you
Oh, it
in
did.
it longer than you even would have
It
imagined.
did because schools from all across, actually some in Illinois, but mostly Indiana, they came from all over the state. And I would hear from all of the different classrooms, like, oh, how the standards and how education was changing. And that was the cusp. That whole decade was when education went through such a mass transformation. And in my opinion, I'm not even embarrassed to say, not for the better. Creativity was compromised for standardization, and that's not great for kids. Soapbox over. That being said, they would all come, and year after year after year, I knew all of the teachers. So it would be like, how's it going this year? And private schools were the last to be affected. And then they came after us. And it was, that was the beginning to the end.
Time to go.
Yeah.
Time to go. So you jump, and are your kids still in school themselves at this point, 10 years ago?
University? That's a great question. I don't, I'd have to look at the dates on that. I mean, they're
Okay.
in their 30s, so they're out. No, they may have been in university.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Commander Krebs came from the simulator days, but you have written what, four best-selling books. You help parents. Tell us more about what you're doing now, because it
Yeah,
fascinates me.
yeah, and that was the working in the simulator was what started what I'm working now because parents were always invited to observe, not help, but observe.
Hmm.
So they would be on the periphery of the room or standing in the door of, like mission control or whatever. They were not allowed. I had to kick out a couple parents, and I did over the years. I know you find that hard to believe. And parents, if I had $5 for every time a parent said, "How do you get Billy to do that? I can't even get him to clean his room or whatever." And now he's like driving or responsible for the path of this spacecraft. How do you do that? And I just had some tried and true responses to kids. Some built-in system sounds so formulaic, and I don't mean it to, but they became my go-to default systems. And I had a knack for motivating kids. And it all boiled down to empowerment for them to make decisions, accountability, natural consequences, and those kinds of 21st century life skills. That was my bailiwick. Like that was just my sweet spot. And I had to acknowledge that I was just really, really good at that. That transfer of responsibility from what needed to get done to a youngster, that's like my superpower. So now I help parents learn how to do that so that life is easier and that transfer of responsibility is good for everybody, not only the kid, but mom, dad, they get to, whoever's raising kids, it doesn't matter. They get to kind of step back a little bit because the responsibility has been shifted. Win-win.
I love a win-win. I want to break this down. I like to keep it simple sometimes. So are you telling me that parents are coming to you to get parental coaching on how to get their kids to do what they need them to do?
In essence, yes.
Did I oversimplify that?
No, it's not necessarily about getting kids to do what parents want. It's about getting kids to step up to assume the responsibility of the things that they need to do in order to, I mean, you asked me about what were my plans after high school, right? We hear today, failure to launch, like this is an epidemic. So parents come to me to help unlock them facilitating getting that transfer of responsibility accomplished at home so that kids can leave the nest with confidence and having a toolbox of everything they need, or for the most part, to be okay.
So I see the need for this kind of coaching. And I come to you and we have a consultation or discovery Zoom, whatever we want to call it. And you ask me all the pointed questions that you're going to ask me. What's the average length of time that somebody works with you?
There is no average. I mean, sometimes it's so individual. If parents have more than one kid, like that's gonna take a little longer. Uh, it really just depends upon what their goals are.
Let's have some fun here. You didn't know I was going to do this. I'm going to throw you a curveball. Let's take and you'll be great at it. Let's take a sampling of your clients and they're coming to you for this help. I want you to describe where they're at before working with you. I want you to do it in just 3 words. Describe that sampling of clients, how they're feeling about we'll say their parenting before they come to you. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So give me 3 words.
I have 4 words.
You're cheating.
No, not
Yes.
really. I need a pronoun in there.
Okay.
Oh, I could do it. I could do it in 3. I should know.
Hmm.
Parents tell themselves all the time, like, I should know this. I should know.
Well, I love that, but humor me. Let's go with 3 distinct words because there's somewhere I want to take this. So
Oh, oh, you
if
mean
we
like
could if we
descriptors? Like
if
descriptors.
descriptors,
Okay.
so if we could take I should know and boil that down to 1 word, what would it be?
Okay. Forgive
Sorry,
me.
I
You
didn't
did. That's a
classify
better question.
the descript words.
You're talking to a communications coach. Ask better questions. No, I'm just kidding. It was a good question. I'm very literal and I answered it right. I heard it one way and not the way in which you
I should have
intended it.
clarified.
Nope, no shoulds. Let's go with shame, frustrated,
Hmm.
and afraid.
Shame, frustrated, afraid. That makes sense to me. So on the other side of working with you for however long, because it varies, like you said, what would you say that same sampling of clients, 3 descript words to describe how they're feeling on the other side?
empowered, hopeful. I was going to say confident, but confident, empowered, or let's say, what did I say?
Empowered and hopeful.
Can I swap out optimistic for hopeful? I don't
You
like
can do whatever
hopeful.
you want.
Yeah, I don't like hopeful. Empowered, confident, just blessed, really.
Okay. So,
Joyful, blessed, yeah, joyful or blessed, something like that.
well, you get to pick it. It's your words.
Either or, doesn't matter.
Joyful, blessed.
I'll go with blessed.
Okay. So I do this occasionally for two reasons. One, it makes you really think because as you well know, we like to use many words sometimes. And this hones the focus down. It makes us stop and really think about it in the most general sense. But it also allows me to showcase you and brag on what you do where you may not have done that without me asking that question. So, parents listening that don't just want their kids to do what you say just because, but you're telling them how to do something or what to do to help them be a more responsible young adult and then eventually adult that lives on their own. See, there's a reason for all this for any kids listening. If you work with Janet, you're going to go from shame to empowered. Huge difference. Frustrated to optimistic, and from afraid to blessed. Huge results. That's powerful.
It's true.
That's a gift. I bet you've seen your fair share of parents emotional by the results they've seen. And even if not a ton were emotional, I bet all, if not almost all anyway, were grateful.
Yeah. And that's a yes, and liberated.
Mm,
That could have been another word.
it's a great
Uh,
word. Yep.
I will probably, we will get off this call and then I'll probably be thinking about those answers yet again and come up with another completely different six. But you get the gist. But I think where that stems from, not that you asked, but I'll be brief, is that when we decide to become parents, we really don't know. And I think there's this expectation that we're supposed to know, and we don't.
Mhm.
And we really have to just get over ourselves in this assumption that we're supposed to have all the answers. How can we have all of the answers when life changes like that? Like everything changes exponentially faster than it ever has at any time in history. And so can we just give ourselves a break? Give ourselves some grace of being able to say, I don't know. Like I didn't know anything about AI, so I hired a coach to teach me AI because it terrified me, and I don't like the implications, and I could go on and on about that. If I don't know something, I'm gonna hire somebody, or I'm gonna read a book, or I'm gonna look for curriculum that's gonna help me bridge the gap. We're not supposed to necessarily have all the answers. Did you know that parenting became a verb in the 70s?
Oh, wow.
Did you know, like, isn't that just
That's
like this astounding little
that's
trivial piece? That's not that long ago, Steve.
Well, to us it wasn't that long ago.
No, but in history,
Yeah, yeah,
like as
it's
far as
amazing.
history goes, that's 50 years. Okay.
Wow,
Like it's
parenting
a
like an
verb,
active verb. Yeah,
like a verb. Like ask anybody that parented before then, they were like, well, that's just what we did.
yeah.
Like
Well,
we had kids. That's just what we did. Like, of course, we just did it. And then it becomes this whole thing of doing the right thing, and then everybody's got a strategy, and it's, it becomes very formulaic and blah 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 blah. It's like, and now it's what am I? What I should. I hate that word. I should know this. No, you shouldn't.
yeah, I used it once, and I noticed your reaction when I when I used that word should. Um, yeah, this okay. So there's a couple of different directions I could go right now.
I can see that.
Yeah, the wheels are turning. Um, you're obviously very good at what you do, and whether it's been in HR, whether it's been in teaching, simulator, coaching, you've got 4 books that you've been, bestseller and author. Uh, you've got, I guess what I'm trying to articulate is you've got quite a resume and you've got quite the highlight reel. But I also know all of us on planet Earth go through periods of time that aren't so easy. And so I'd like to ask you, our theme in the group is you are worthy, and our subtitle is your story's not over yet. So could you tell us about a time in your life on your journey where you didn't feel worthy of love, respect, and success?
Yes. But remind me, I have two answers for that. One that you may know and one that would be a surprise.
Okay.
So we'll just reserve a few minutes for that. Uh, so I'm an adopted kid, and like when my parents told me I was in the second grade, and when they told me that I was adopted, I thought I was so cool. I thought I was the coolest thing because my parents told me that I was chosen. I had two sets of parents. One, that loved me enough to say we can't, and another set of parents that said we can and we will. And so I had four parents. And I was like, woohoo, I am so cool. And so I go and I'm in the second grade. I've got my little red plaid lunchbox. And I remember telling all my friends in the lunchroom, and you would have thought that I had grown a horn in my forehead. They didn't know what to do with me. They didn't understand it. I had to explain it to them, and then they thought it was weird, and they thought that their fear or lack of understanding, now grown-up words, right? It was just like I was too different. I wasn't like them, and so I really suffered from that for a long time. And I went home, and I was just like, wah wah wah, like I'm telling my parents at dinner because I grew up in a family that had dinner every night at the table. Those were the days, right? And I remember telling them, and I was so upset. And then they just reminded me about the two sets of parents. And I was surrounded by more love than that I knew what to do with. And so I think that was a great moment of going from I'm different, your word, unworthy, like why what it was there something wrong with me like blah 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 to oh my gosh I am surrounded by more love than most kids, so yeah, I'm different, but I'm better, spoken like a petulant little second grader, right? But that was like part of like but that like, oh my gosh, can you imagine parents that just build you up enough to be able to rise above that and then be like, but you are so loved. Why would you ever think? And I bought it hook, line, and sinker.
That Yeah, you beat me to it. That's remarkable parenting. Word from the 70s. Um, it's remarkable. I mean, those that know my wife and I know we adopted all three of our kids. And the story we told them, the accurate story, you start telling them early on. And even though some of the details, at least in our case with our kids, their background, two of the three, it's not pretty at all. But you do the best you can in articulating how much they were loved to make the tough decisions they had to make. So it's remarkable the foundation they gave, because you're probably, and I come into, adoptive circles quite a bit. Your authentic reaction that I've got four that love me this much is really rare. That enthusiasm about it, that mindset about it. And you saw how the world operates, right? You never knew anything was any different. That, you go to school and kids are cruel, like they can be, and you experience that, unfortunately, but your parents built you right back up. I love that story.
Well, I was looking because I had this idea that not that long ago. It's funny that we're having this conversation. And I was trying to think of the book because my parents told me by reading a book. And it was called The Chosen Baby. And I actually went on to the Amazon, and now it's like it's ancient. It was like written in the 40s or 50s or whatever. Remember, I'm old. And so now it's like a $47 specialty item, which I don't need to own, but I did print the cover. And I mean, it's like older than Dick and Jane. Like it's really old. And I'm going to do a recording about this myself on my own socials because I can't remember now. Funny that you say that. Maybe I need to buy the book. Was it the book that articulated the specialness of both sets of parents, or was it my own? I honestly do not remember whether that was something that they extracted from reading the book or if the book itself was about the love of giving and then the love of accepting. I can't answer that. And my parents are dead, so I can't ask them. So I don't know.
I am going to predict you're going to find that answer out, and you'll have the answer once you have the book. So,
I bet I like now I have to yeah, I don't know. Uh I don't know, but I just remember The Chosen Baby, and maybe it's like maybe because I don't know. I can't answer that.
but you know what? Even if you do find out that the majority of that encouragement, reinforcement came from the book, your parents had to reinforce it too,
Oh, 100%.
without a doubt. Even if
Never
that
like
wasn't the original origin, no doubt about it.
you want to go one step further?
Sure.
I did a search much later in life in my 30s. My father had already died and my mother was alive. And I told her what I was doing, and it was in response to a Trump something that very horrible in our family, and I needed to know. And I did a search, and I found them.
Mm.
So talk about the chosen baby. I got the full story. And in tribute to my mother, may she now rest in peace, she was 400% supportive. She was like, I'm
Wow.
secure enough and I love you enough that if this is important to you, please go ahead and do it. I'm still your mother. Like,
Wow.
right?
How special is that?
Yeah.
Mm. Good stuff. So what's beyond the horizon? What's next for you? Is it, and you're doing your life's work right now. I mean, you're in a sweet spot of life, doing amazing things, making such a difference. If it's
Thank
more
you.
of the same, that's awesome. Is there something else on the horizon in addition to that you can share, or just tell us what's next?
Uh, I I believe in what I'm doing so strongly that I think this will be my last hurrah uh, professionally. I do have another book in me. It'll probably be a children's book. And can I tell you why?
Sure.
Okay, real quick. It's actually it's a fun, more colorful story, as though you need any more colorful stories from me today. Our family business was a cemetery. I know, like what a weird way to grow up, but it was so cool.
Recession proof.
It was so cool. And when I remember, like during a funeral or whatever, I would go and walk amongst the tombstones. And you can imagine it was a really, really old cemetery. It's still in existence. It's still in our family. And so you can imagine for miles and miles and miles, all you see is tombstones. And I would just walk each one. And so old that some of the stones had pictures on them. But there was one thing that every single stone had in common. The date that they were born, the date that they died, the dash in between, which I thought was very intriguing. And the only thing that we ever saw on their tombstone was mother, father, daughter, son, sister, or brother. You never saw teacher, banker, corporate off, like you didn't see what they did, but you only ever saw or learned publicly what their roles were within the family. Think about that. We
Mm.
choose to engrave in granite forever the role that we had within family. And I believe when I think back to like the origin story, people say, what got you doing what you do? It was that. Because that, at the end of the day, is the only important role that we will ever have. Everything else is replaceable. I mean, and parents like we can rate, but that one and the dash in the middle of those two dates, that's how you show up and who
Yeah.
you are, not what you did. That's how you showed up as a human being. And I just think that that left such an indelible imprint on me that I became an incredibly intentional human being and I focus on the family.
Ooh, I love that. I mean, how often do we meet somebody for the first time and the first question out of their mouth is, "What do you do?"
What do you do?
And that's awesome. I'm a husband of Rebecca and I'm the father of da 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 da. Wow, I love that. Tell us, Janet, where folks can learn more about you and the work you're doing.
I am so easy to find. I don't have any fancy branding. You look up my name and you'll just see all sorts of different hairstyles of Janet Krebs. I'm
Oh,
everywhere. I'm on social media under my name. My website is janetkrebs.com. I'm just easy to find.
love it. We'll have all that in the show notes. Any last words of encouragement you want to leave those that are going to watch this?
Well, I could borrow your entire network mission, and I think it's actually applicable. Re Regardless of what you choose to do in life, you are worthy.
I'll build on that just a smidge because I love that. Whatever you're working towards, whatever you're striving for, maybe it's the promotion, maybe it's the next degree, maybe it's a new relationship, maybe it's a new business. All good things. Go for it. But what I want to encourage you with is you don't suddenly become worthy when those things happen for you. You're worthy
Right now.
right here, right now, today, while you're working on it and while you're waiting on it. Be encouraged by that. Janet, I want to thank you for sharing your wisdom, your
Oh, thank you.
experiences, and your heart with us today. It's been awesome having you.
Ah, it's my pleasure. Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It's been awesome. Guys, I appreciate each one of you. Your story is not over yet. If you're seeing this, you're still in your dash. Make the most of it. Till next time, God bless.